Today we are going to discuss another important topic from 100 days concepts. This is also most important, where I did take a topic like concepts are most important for coming NEET. 100 topics mean it is huge. Okay, I will give you more than 170 marks if you come across my videos, and you have to be subscribed the NEET World. Okay, yeah, I am here zoology teacher going to discuss about there is another concept which is pancreas. Okay, yeah, as you know guys, pancreas comes under endocrinology, which is chemical control and coordination, the topic which is in the animal physiology. Okay, yes, if come to this topic, pancreas is what? What is pancreas, where it is located, what is the functions of the pancreas, we are going to discuss today class. Okay, yes, it is the mixed gland. Actually it is the gland. Okay, actually it is the gland which is mixed gland. Yeah, which is mixed gland, both exocrine and endocrine. This is the gland which is exocrine and endocrine. What is exocrine and endocrine? Exocrine is the duct glands. There is a secretions going to release in the ducts. Through the ducts they can carry forward for the target. If come to the endocrine, there is no ducts. They can release their chemical or hormones into the blood directly. They can reach the target via blood itself. Okay, so pancreas as mixed gland, it is the activity of exocrine and endocrine also. Okay, yes, and it is located posterior the stomach, posterior to the stomach, near the duodenum. Duodenum is the part of small intestine. Small intestine, there are three regions: jejunum, duodenum, jejunum and ileum, where the duodenum, which is mid part of the small intestine, where there is a pancreas is located in the duodenum part of the small intestine. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we discussed there is a small intestine, there is a part which is duodenum, there is a mixed gland located pancreas. Pancreas mixed gland mean exocrine activity and endocrine. They can release exocrine enzymes and endocrine hormones. Okay, yeah, how much percentage of exocrine and how much percentage of endocrine, this is important. Exocrine part which is 99%. Exocrine which is 99%, endocrine which is only 1%, endocrine only 1%, exocrine made up of with cells, acinar cells, and exocrine, the cells which is acinar cell secrete pancreatic juice, that is enzymes like amylase, lipase and trypsin. Actually duodenum is the alimentary canal where the digestive system is located in the humans, that is the small intestine after stomach. I am gonna give you. This is the stomach, this is the stomach. After stomach there is a part called duodenum. This is the duodenum part where stomach, yeah guys, just look into here. This is the duodenum part. There is a one fine branch located here, just like this is the pancreas. Actually just look into here, this is the stomach where protein digestion is started. In the digestive system there is a protein, lipids and carbohydrates we are take as a food. Carbohydrates where started digestion in the mouth, saliva, they can reach into the stomach. Protein do not start digestion in the saliva, they can reach stomach only there is a HCl release and protein digestion is going to take place. Carbohydrate digestion, protein digestion and fats digestion is required for the absorption in the intestine. So, this part of the pancreas, they can release digestive enzyme into the duodenum part. Digestive enzymes like protein digestion enzyme, lipid digestion enzyme and carbohydrate digestion enzymes, they can release. Pancreas, there is a acinar cells in the pancreas, 99% of the acinar cells, they can release pancreatic juice, that is contain enzymes like amylase, protease and trypsin. Amylase, lipase and trypsin. Amylase going to give the digestion of the carbohydrate digestion. Amylase is the enzyme for the carbohydrate digestion. Trypsin is the enzyme for the protein digestion. Trypsin is the enzyme for the protein digestion and lipase is the enzyme for the lipid digestion. Okay. So, these three enzymes, they can release the part of acinar cells which is release pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice contain three kind of enzymes, that is amylase, trypsin and lipase. Okay. Yeah, three kind of foods they can digestion through these enzymes, which is secretes the acinar cells located in the pancreas 99 part. Okay. Yeah, remaining one part, 1% of part, there is a islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans, they don't release enzyme, instead they can release hormones. Instead they can release hormone. I hope you guys understand this. Okay. Just listen, it is the key word. Okay. Keyword exocrine activity. This is actually mixed gland is the keyword. Mixed gland is the keyword. Okay. Endocrine, exocrine and endocrine. Exocrine release the juice, pancreatic juice, which is enzymes like amylase, lipase and trypsin, pancreatic juice. Endocrine, there is a, here just look into here, keywords are acinar cells. Acinar cells is 99%. Endocrine activity, islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans, they release hormones. What are the hormones? We are going to discuss. Here, acinar cells are the exocrine part, Langerhans is the endocrine part. Endocrine, they release hormones. Exocrine, acinar cells, they can secrete the enzymes like amylase, that is amylase, lipase and trypsin. Okay. These three kind of enzymes they can release into the small intestine duodenum part. Okay. I hope you are understand it. Okay. Yeah. Next page. Yes, this is the pancreas. This is the pancreas. This is the duodenum. This is the small intestine. Small intestine. The part which is duodenum part, this is attached, this branch, digestive enzyme. This is the branch here now. This is green color branch. Green color branch, which is exocrine gland duct. This is the green color is the duct. Duct, they can secrete enzyme through the ducts, digestive enzyme into the small intestine. Just look into here. Yeah, this is the duct. They secretes enzyme into the small intestine where it is produced. Where it is produced. Okay. This, just look into here. Pancreas, islets of Langerhans are what? Islets of Langerhans, they can release hormones. They can release hormones. Acinar cells, this is acinar cells. Acinar cells, they can release enzymes. They can release enzyme. This can be produce enzymes, that produce enzyme, they can release into the small intestine duodenum part. These enzymes are amylase, trypsin and lipase. This is exocrine, and this blue color is SNR cells, is 1% only. They can release, sorry, this blue color are this islets of Langerhans, pancreas islets. Okay, they can release hormones, okay. This is the pancreatic duct. Ductless gland are the endocrine, duct glands are exocrine. Here ducts glands and ductless glands, okay. Two glands are there, okay. Yeah, islets of Langerhans, they can release hormones, pancreatic hormone, which is insulin and glucagon. They produce hormones. Enzymes are amylase, protease like trypsin and lipase, they can release by SNR cells. I hope you guys understand this, okay. Yeah, take a like islets, alpha cells are there, beta cells are there, exocrine, SNI cells are there in the islets of Langerhans, okay. Just look into here first. Take a screenshot. Yeah. Highlights of Langerhans, about highlights of Langerhans. Okay. This is the endocrine glands. This is the islets of Langerhans, endocrine glands. Endocrine, sorry, I don't want to write here. Yeah, islets of Langerhans as alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells and F cells. Islets of Langerhans, alpha, beta and delta and F cells are there. Alpha cells, they are 15 to 20%, they can release hormone glucagon, this is important. Beta cells 65 to 80%, they can release hormone insulin. Alpha cells, beta cells. Alpha cells, they can release glucagon, beta cells, they can release insulin, this is the important, okay, this is important. Delta cells, they can release somatostatin, this is also important. Alpha, beta, delta, okay, alpha, beta, delta. Alpha cells, they can release glucagon, beta cells are 65%, they can release insulin, and delta cells, they can release somatostatin hormone. And F cells, 1% F cells are there, they can release pancreatic polypeptide, they can release pancreatic polypeptide. Guys, just look into here, alpha, beta, delta and F cells. This is the most important for exam. Alpha cells, beta cells and delta cell, F cells. Where located? In the endocrine part, where is islets of Langerhans. In the pancreas, there is a islets of Langerhans. 1% of islets, they can release hormones. Such a hormones as comes under a cells, alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells and F cells. Alpha cells, they can release in glucagon, beta cells, they can release insulin, delta cells, they can release somatostatin, F cells, they can release peptide, polypeptide secretions, pancreatic polypeptide. Yeah, the functions of the alpha cells, glucagon, they raises blood glucose levels in the blood, okay. Glucagon, they can encourage the glucose into the blood, they can produce glucose into the blood. Actually, if you take food, that is storage as part of, in the liver they can storage as glycogen. Glycogen, when you require energy, that is glycogen converted into the glucose, that is the hormone which is help for the glycogen turn into the glucose is glucagon. Mean glucose they can release into the blood, glucose levels are increased in the blood. Okay? Yeah. Insulin, there is lower blood glucose level. Insulin function is what? Insulin function is they can convert glucose into the glycogen. They can, yeah, I'll give you the more clear about it. Yeah. Delta cells inhibit insulin, glucagon and GH, growth hormone. Delta cells, which is somatostatin, which is regulate insulin and glucagon and growth hormone also they can regulate, that is somatostatin work. Okay? And F cells, they can release pancreatic secretions. I am going to explain it more detail about hormones. First of all, you have to listen carefully. I am going to explain. If you eat food, carbohydrates, like rice eat. If you eat rice, okay? If you eat rice 9 AM or 12 PM, that is the 12 PM rice, they do not produce energy immediately. And if you don't eat up to the 8 PM, this rice is converted to the energy. Rice is converted to the energy, mean this is process going to take for 4 hours. They can require energy from this food, from this rice, give you energy for 4 hours. Like here 12 to 8 means 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours you have to get energy installment. Mean if you eat rice, they don't give you immediately 1 hour energy, they can give you up to the 8 hours energy, right? Yeah. So, this rice first initially they can give the glucose, which is rice converted to the glucose. Okay? First initially rice particle break down through the digestive enzymes converted into the glucose. Okay? All over this glucose not immediately give the energy. Okay? Some amount of glucose converts into the storage, convert into the storage for further requirement of energy. That is storage called glycogen. So, glucose comes into the glycogen, mean the energy they can give you not immediately base, as per requirement they release energy. In that way, this is the glucose converted into the glycogen. I hope you guys clear. This glucose converted into the glycogen, converts into the glycogen, mean it is a storage of glucose This glycogen, if we require energy, again converted into the glucose, glucose according to the requirement. So, glucose converted into the glycogen, there is a hormone which is helps, that hormone is called insulin. And glycogen converted into the glucose is called glucagon. This is insulin, and there is a here glucagon. Insulin and glucagon. First, glucose, which is helps to store the glucose stored as the form of glycogen, and glycogen again to convert it into the glucose. This is the process where the glucose converted into the glycogen. They can encourage insulin, and glycogen converted into the glucose encourage glucagon. Mean insulin, they can reduce the sugar level. Sugar mean glucose. Insulin reduce this glucose level, sugar level into the blood. Glycogen, they can increase glucose levels in the sugar. This is the scenario. They can encourage glucose level in the sugar. This can be reduce glucose level in the blood. Mean glucose converted to the glycogen mean glucose reduce, right? Yeah, that is insulin. Glycogen converted into the glucose mean glucose increase, right? They can convert the glycose into the glucose level increase. Who? Glucagon. So, this is, you have to understand this mechanism. Yeah. So, the hormones about insulin, detailed discussion about insulin. Yeah, it is stimulated by high blood glucose, mean if it is glucose level increase more in the blood, mean if you eat food converted into the glucose, right? If you eat food converted into the glucose, right? Food first carbohydrates, they can divide it as digestive enzyme, they can break down carbohydrates, they can modify into the glucose. Glucose is the simpler particles in the blood. If the glucose produce, if you eat food, that is carbohydrates, carbohydrates nothing but like rice, assume, that can convert into the glucose. If the glucose is raised in the blood, immediately this insulin produce, that is increase the cellular uptake of glucose, especially muscles and adipose tissue. Adipose is the tissue where the storage of food, and it is stimulate glycogenesis. Glucose converted into the glycogen, genesis mean to produce. This is the reaction called glycogenesis. Yeah, here glycogenesis. Glucose converted into the glycogen, the process called glycogenesis. Who help? Insulin help. Insulin, they can convert glucose into the glycogen, called glycogenesis. Glucose which is converted into the glycogen in the liver or muscle. It promotes lipogenesis and protein synthesis. Glucose, not only the glucose converted to the glycogen, insulin not only glucose converted to the glycogen, of course they can also lipogenesis, mean that is the glucose converted into the lipids, mean fats. If you excess amount of eat food, that is converted into the fat in the form of fat, okay? Yeah, and protein synthesis also. Inhibit gluconeogenesis and glyconeogenesis, they can inhibit gluconeogenesis and glyconeogenesis. glyconeogenesis. Sorry, glycogenolysis, not glyconeogenesis. They can encourage glycogenesis, but they can inhibit. This is important. Inhibit. What inhibit? Gluconeogenesis mean the production of glucose. Production of glucose they can inhibit. Production of glucose they can inhibit. Production of glucose they can inhibit. Okay. They can reduce production of glucose. And glycogenolysis mean breakdown of glycogen. Breakdown of glycogen. To release, if the breakdown of glycogen, they can release glucose. They have to be, insulin can inhibit the gluconeogenesis. Neo mean new, glucose formation. They can inhibit glucose formation. Genesis mean to formation. And glycogenolysis mean glycogen lysis. If the lysis it can be produce glucose. That can be inhibit the hormone by insulin. Insulin secreted by beta cells. Insulin secretes by beta cells, that can be increase the blood, that can be like stimulated by the blood glucose level high. Okay, yeah, that can be stimulate glyconeogenesis. Okay, mean glycogenesis. Glycogenesis mean to formation of glycogen, and they can inhibit gluconeogenesis and they can inhibit glycogenolysis. I hope you guys understand this. If it is deficiency, if it is lack of insulin, there is a disease called diabetes mellitus. This is also important NEET point. Diabetes mellitus is what? If the deficiency of the glucose called diabetes mellitus. Okay, take a screenshot. Yeah, if come to the glucagon, glucagon secretes by the cells alpha cells. Glucagon secretes by cells alpha cells. Insulin secretes by cells beta cells. Glucagon secretes the cells which is alpha cells. These cells are comes under which is islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans cells, they can secrete these hormones. These cells mean alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells and F cells. Alpha, beta, alpha produce glucagon, beta cells produce insulin, delta cells produce somatostatin, F cells produce polypeptide. And just look at here, the alpha cell secretes the glucagon. Glucagon is where if the blood glucose level very low, they can release, glucagon will release. Okay? Yeah, it promote glycogenolysis. Insulin, they can inhibit glycogenolysis. Mean glycogenolysis mean glycogenolysis mean it can be produce glucose. It can be produce glucose. Who can encourage it? This is glucagon. Glucagon, they can produce glycogenolysis. They can encourage glycogenolysis and produce glucose in the blood. Glucose, they can inhibit this reaction. Okay? Glucose is reversible. Okay, they are insulin and glucagon are reversible. Insulin versus glucagon. Yeah, I will write you end of the class. Yeah, it stimulate gluconeogenesis. It stimulate gluconeogenesis, mean from the non-carbohydrate glucose. Glucose produce mainly carbohydrates, but glucose sometimes they can produce from the non-carbohydrate material, that is called gluconeogenesis. Neo mean new. Neo mean new. It raises blood glucose level. This is important for NEET. It raises, mean insulin they can decrease the blood glucose level, glucagon they can produce blood glucose level. Okay? Yeah. It is antagonistic to the insulin. It is antagonistic, mean against to the insulin. This action against to the insulin. Yeah, next point. Somatostatin. Somatostatin secretes by delta cells in the pancreas. Somatocells secretes by delta cells. The function they can inhibit of insulin and glucagon and growth hormone secretion. Okay, this is also most important. Pancreas, there is a SNR cells, they can produce alpha, beta, delta cells. Delta cells release the hormone somatostatin that can be inhibit this insulin and glucagon and growth hormone that can be inhibit. Okay? Yeah. It is act as paracrine inhibitor within the pancreas. It is secretes by hypothalamus. Okay, gastrointestinal tract. It is secretes by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the part of forebrain where the diencephalon. Hypothalamus is the part of forebrain where the diencephalon, third ventricle, below third ventricle, there is a hypothalamus. It can be secretes this hormone somatostatin. Okay, this hormone they can release in the gastrointestinal tract also. Okay, most important, somatostatin produced by hypothalamus and gastrointestinal tract, GIT. Okay, yeah. This secretes by, yeah, next cells are the F cells. F cells they can secrete polypeptide cells, that is inhibit exocrine pancreatic secretion of the gallbladder contraction. Exocrine pancreatic secretion and gallbladder contraction. Okay, yeah, there is F cells also produced by pancreatic SNR cells, pancreatic Langerhans cells. Okay, pancreatic Langerhans cells they can produce alpha, beta, delta and F cells. Alpha cells produce glucagon and delta cells produce gamma cells, beta cells produce insulin, delta cells produce somatostatin, and this F cells they can produce peptide chain. Okay, yeah, this is the peptide chain. Okay, they can exocrine pancreatic secretion inhibit and gallbladder contraction also inhibit. Okay, yes. Regulation of blood, this is the most important for NEET. Okay, star mark for NEET. For NEET 2026, NEET 2026, this is the most important word. Hyperglycemia. Hyper mean high. Hyper mean high. Okay, hyperglycemia. What is hormone release? Insulin. If the insulin release, hyperglycemia. Okay, that is low of the glucose. Glucose level is low, is hyperglycemia. Hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia, low sugar, which is glucagon. Okay, raises glucose. Raises glucose. Okay. Guys, hyperglycemia, if sugar level increase, there is a insulin will release. In that condition, insulin, they can control the glucose level, they can decrease the glucose level. If hypoglycemia, low sugar level, in that condition, this glucagon release, that can be raise the glucose conditions in the blood. Who can raise? If the hypoglycemia, glucagon raise, if the hypoglycemia, glucagon raise, and they can encourage the glucose into the blood, mean glucose release into the blood. If the hypoglycemia, glucagon release, if the hyperglycemia, if the sugar level increase in the blood, immediately insulin release. Hyperglycemia, insulin release, they can control sugar in the blood, mean sugar reduce in the blood, they can lower the sugar. If the insulin release, they can reduce sugar level. If the hyperglycemia, insulin release, if the hyperglycemia, sugar level increase in the blood, immediately insulin release, that can be act lower glucose level in the blood. If the hypoglycemia, there is sugar level very low, glucagon release, they can raise the glucose in the blood. Okay. This is important for NEET. Yeah. Next question. Next. Disorders related pancreatic hormones, diabetes mellitus. This is also important. What is diabetes mellitus? This is important for NEET. Diabetes mellitus is the disorders of the pancreatic hormones, especially insulin. Okay? It is caused by insulin deficiency. It is caused by insulin deficiency. Type 1, autoimmune destruction of B cells. Type 2 insulin, that is resistance associated with obesity. Type C. Symptoms, they don't ask you symptoms. Treatment also they don't ask you. Okay? Yeah, you have to find this only. This only. Insulin deficiency, autoimmune destruction, diabetes mellitus. These 3 points enough for the pancreatic hormones where the disorder diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Okay? Yeah, this is enough. And this is also important. Hyperinsulinemia. Hyperinsulinemia. Excess of insulin, hyper mean excess, leads to the hypoglycemia. Leads to the hypoglycemia. Mean if it is hyperinsulin, if the excess of insulin release, immediately insulin release. If the excess amount of insulin, there is a hypoglycemia, mean sugar level will decrease. Sugar level will decrease, mean hypoglycemia. Okay? Hyperglycemia, they can release insulin more. If the insulin more, hyperinsulinemia, that leads to the hypoglycemia, mean if the insulin increase, there is a decrease of like glucose in the blood, that is lead hypoglycemia. Okay? Symptoms, they don't ask you symptoms. Okay? Yeah, they don't ask you that also. Okay? You have to find only this, guys. Only, yeah, this you have to read. This is important for NEET, only that. Okay? You have to note it. Okay? Note it. Yeah, important NEET points. Important NEET points. Insulin, the only hormone that lower the blood glucose. Glucagon, cortisol, adrenaline and growth hormone raise blood glucose level. This is important. Blood glucose level raise not only glucagon, that is cortisol also. glucocorticoid, okay, cortisol, adrenaline. Glucocorticoids are there in the adrenal gland, adrenaline and growth hormone. These 3, 4 they can raise the blood glucose levels, but insulin only one hormone they can release the blood glucose level, they can decrease. Okay. Islets of Langerhans are endocrine, while SNI are the exocrine in this chapter. Okay. Insulin act through the tyrosine kinase receptor. Insulin is anabolic, glucagon is catabolic. They might not ask you, it is a pure common sense if you are knowledge. Okay. Islets are more concentrated in the tail of the pancreas. Okay. Yeah, you have to take a screenshot about it. Questions, MCQs. MCQs, these are the MCQs for you guys. Okay. Yeah. Which of the following cells are secretes insulin? Insulin secretes beta cells. Insulin secretes beta cells, right? Alpha cells, they can secrete glucagon. Glucagon. Beta cells release insulin. Delta cells, they can release somatostatin. Somatostatin. Somatostatin they can release. This is peptide cells, polypeptide. Polypeptide. Okay. Yeah. Which hormone increases blood glucose levels? Glucagon, they can release blood. Insulin they can reduce. Insulin they can reduce. Glucagon itself they release blood glucose levels. Yeah. Next, in diabetes mellitus is the cause. Diabetes mellitus is the cause. Hypersecretion of insulin, hypersecretion of glucagon, deficiency of insulin. Okay, deficiency of insulin. Deficiency of insulin is the answer. Which of the following is not function of insulin? Lipogenesis, gluconeogenesis, glycogenesis and cellular glucose uptake. Yeah. Lipogenesis है, gluconeogenesis, this is not function of insulin, not gluconeogenesis, it is the glycogenesis. Okay. This is, yeah, guys, this is the NEET World, give you long term. Okay. This is the NEET World, give you long term program where online classes and offline classes, which is full syllabus NCERT level, and which is we can provide digital AC classrooms and hostel available also there. Okay, one-on-one mentor available for only rupees 3,333. Okay, you have to take it. Guys, you have to subscribe it. If you are like my teach, you have to take a like. Make sure you have to like it my video. Okay, thank you.